Kyle Porter of CBSSports.com with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. He is live at Chambers Bay. And Kyle, the course at Chambers Bay, what has been the reaction from day one, now headed into day two, from the golfers about the U.S. Open this year and this course they're playing on?
That's a good question. I think that, the U.S. Open is always opens itself up to criticism from players. And I think this year it's been less than usual. You saw some guys complain about the greens after day one. Rory McIlroy, Sergio Garcia, Phil Mickelson. They weren't overt in their criticism, but they were definitely like, it could be better. I think that was the words that Rory McIlroy used, which, being the diplomat that he is, that's basically like burning the thing down for him. But it's not, the greens are not great. And it's not that they're too fast. It's not even that they're brown. They're kind of bumpy, and they don't roll as true as a lot of these guys are used to. So I really think that's the only issue that most of them have had with the course. It's weird to me that we're playing the U.S. Open in a course that looks like it's fresh out of Scotland. Yeah, it's very strange. I think the even stranger part, and Billy Horschel tweeted about this on Thursday, is that the fans can't get close to the action on a lot of these holes, and so you've got multiple greens where there's just no fans standing around the green, and not because they don't want to watch the players, but because they can't physically access it because of the way the course is set up on this old gravel mine. You've got these 200-foot drops like down these cliffs, and the USGA doesn't want to let fans around that area, and they shouldn't. So it makes for some very strange viewing, and maybe not as many roars or cheering as we're used to at a big-time golf tournament like this.
Kyle Porter of CBSSports.com, at Kyle Porter CBS on Twitter. Follow him all weekend for updates from the U.S. Open, including Tiger Woods, Kyle. 80 over after day one. This is sad. Isn't there a point where we look at Tiger and say, this is sad?
Yeah, it was rough, man. I'm not a huge Tiger guy either way. I don't necessarily love him or hate him. I think it's fun when he's in it because he's a big name, and it's always fun when big names are in it, but it was pretty bad yesterday, and the strange part, if you notice, he shot the 80, got done on the 18th green, and then him and Ricky Fowler were kind of laughing afterwards, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, what is going on here? And they were laughing because their group, those two and Louis Oosthuizen, were combined 28 over on day one, and so I think they were just happy to get their round over, but. Yeah, it's not good, and the way he played 18, just topping the 3-wood and having to get out of the bunker, I mean, it kind of just epitomized what his round was like on day one.
Kyle, is this a situation where we go, all right, this course is just insanely difficult, or is this a situation where we start to go, Tiger's just really got to focus to get it back if he's ever going to do that?
I think it's probably the latter. I mean, he shot 85 at a course that isn't super difficult a couple of weeks ago at Memorial at Muirfield Village. So he's just not very good. And I think people that don't maybe follow the sport super closely have kind of written off some of his rounds at lesser tournaments and pointed to Augusta and say, hey, he finished 17th there. Well, yeah, he did, but that was, it appears to be the outlier this year rather than kind of the rule, which is that he's just not very good at golf anymore.
Kyle, what do you make of him laughing? Is that an acceptance that he's not good? As you said, that's not very Tiger-esque at all. Is he confused as to what he is these days? What do we make of him laughing?
Yeah, I think that he understands that with the swing changes that he's undergoing with his new swing coach, Chris Como, that, he talked earlier in the week, he said it's short-term suffering for long-term gain. And so I think he just kind of understands that this is what it's going to be right now, and he really believes he's going to come out the other side of those swing changes. But even if he does, let's say he does, he figures out the swing, he's ready to go again. His putting is equally bad. So I don't know what he's going to do about that once he figures out the swing changes, if that ever gets solved.
Kyle Porter of CBSSports.com, at Kyle Porter CBS with Armen and Levack on 104.5 The Team. Kyle from the U.S. Open.
Hey, Kyle, now as we look at day one, who did you see that you think can really put it together and make a run at winning this thing?
Well, I think the guys that are in it for the long haul are guys like Jordan Spieth is the guy that really sticks out to me. I mean, he didn't even play that well on the first day, and he's just hung in and made 12-footers and made 14-footers and And all of a sudden you look up, he shoots 68. And I think that's really kind of a sign of what he's going to do this week. You know, only 4 guys have won both the U.S. Open and the Masters in the same year since World War II. I mean, that's an incredible stat. And I think that Spieth really has a chance to become the 5th guy in that group. Patrick Reed, I think, has a little bit of staying power. He's never played that well in majors in the past. Broke 70 for the first time on Thursday, but I think he's ready. He actually said after his round that he left 6 birdies out there. So he basically said he should have shot a 60 on the first day. So that was fun. Phil Mickelson's 1 under after day 1. I think he has a real chance to be there until the end. Hopefully for him, I would rather him finish like 9th than finish 2nd again.
Yeah, he might too. Who knows? Dustin Johnson had a great first day. Do you expect him to have a good weekend as well to be a player in this long term?
Yeah, I think so. Him and Henrik Stenson, who also shot a 65 on day 1, they worry me a little bit because they're 2 guys that they're immensely talented, but they get in their own heads a little bit. And this is definitely a course where you have to think a lot, you have to be creative, you have to make critical decisions in big moments, and that worries me just a little bit with those 2. Not to say that they're morons out there or anything, but I think that they just, you know, they've shown in the past that in those big time moments they've kind of struggled to make the right decision and maybe made the wrong one at times.
Now, with it being kind of a links course, looking like it's out of Scotland, any chance Colin Montgomery sneaks up and steals this thing over the weekend?
Man, nobody's talking about that story. I feel that's crazy. He gave the quote of the day on Thursday when he said, you know, I feel like I'm the same as in the 90s when I was contending. I was overweight then, I'm overweight now, and I'm still playing good golf. So it would be pretty
Sounds
crazy.
like Levack.
I think him contending would be just as big a story as an amateur being out there, which you see with the kid from Illinois being in the top 5 after day 1.
He's Kyle Porter of CBSSports.com, at Kyle Porter CBS on Twitter. Follow him all weekend long for updates from the U.S. Open. I know we will. Kyle, thanks so much, man. Really appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.